Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Mental Mondays on Intuitive Angling. And all the regulars, you guys know what's going on here. And if it's the first time to the channel, this is something we do once a week that really doesn't have anything to do with fishing. It's sort of a nice little break from the fishing videos. And we just talk about a wide range of topics that usually sort of designed to help stimulate your mind a little bit and maybe bring some type of peace and understanding a little bit more as we all work through this incredible mystery that we're involved in called life here. So anyway, welcome, regardless if it's your first time or your 50th time. Today, guys, we're going to talk about change. Talk about when change is good and when change is not good, and how I don't really buy into the myth that you can't stop change and change is always for the better and adapt or get left behind. It's not quite that cut and dry a little bit. But anyway, in my opinion, there's two types of change. There's change that is inevitable, and then there's change that is brought upon by some special interests that is not necessarily good for society all the time. And one of the things that I think everybody has to realize that life is change. I mean, when you're talking about your daily life and as you move through this experience of life, it's inevitable. And a lot of people, and this, when I talk about change that's inevitable, I'm talking about things like aging and talk about aspects of your life that progress naturally. I'm not talking about change that man has instituted on its own. But when you're talking about natural change, I think there's a big resistance to that. A lot of people. There's a little bit of element and fear that comes with change. People get comfortable with certain ways that they interact and live, and they don't want that threatened a lot of times. And there is some validity to that. But I think one of the things that everybody has to realize is that life is just change in action. I mean, it is, because every single moment of every single day in our life, it's a fleeting moment. It never remains the same. And I think the sooner that you accept that there's never going to be that same moment again, that is when you can really live life to the fullest out there. Because we go through experiences in our life where we have things that are really, really cool. I mean, different interactions with friends and family, different events, that type of stuff. And it's a natural inclination that we want to hold on to that. We don't want to let that go, and we want it to reoccur all the time. And that rarely happens, because everything passes. Everything is going to pass. I mean, the job that you have right now is going to end eventually. Family relationships you have are going to end. Your relationships with your friends, it's all going to come to an end at some point. And usually that change happens incrementally. So that is not where you need to focus your energy on, because if you focus your energy on that, there's a little bit of a sadness that comes with that. Instead of that, if you have something within your life that you think that you really enjoy and that you really like, appreciate it for what it is at the moment, and don't dwell upon what's going to happen to it in the future. Just think about it and be grateful for it, that you have it here and now. And then you really fully absorb the maximum amount of the experience. But at the same time, that you have to always tell yourself that I know this is not going to be here forever. I mean, it's not going to, and that's okay, because that is what life is. Life is a cycle. Life is a balance, and all we have to do is look to nature. It gives us clues to that all the time. And that change is inevitable, that occurs, and it's okay. Everything's okay with that. That's just part of the process. Now, there are other type of changes that are completely unnecessary and not for the better. While those changes that are inevitable we talk about, ultimately, they are for the better, because that contributes to the human experience and to our experience in anything that lies hereafter, our physical forms here. But there are some changes out there that are just crap that we don't have to have. For example, when you talk about change is inevitable and you can't stop progress, you can stop it. Because say, for example, if you have a beautiful valley that's got, a lot of, hundreds of acres of old growth trees in there, and it's been like that for thousands and thousands of years, it's not change for the positive to come in there and rip all that out and bulldoze it down and put a strip mall in there. That's not change for the positive. And that's stuff that you can fight against and rail against. You know, you guys know, if you watch my fishing channel, you know I talk about the electronic technology. You know, the change we've seen in advanced electronic technology is not a change for the positive. It robs away the intrinsic value and the mystery and the magic of the sport. So it's not, there's no value to that particular type of change. So it's not inevitable. Just another prime example with that. So one of the things that I've always railed against is, like, there's two aspects of life that I think are a given. Number one, there's that change that you have to internally accept and you can't fight against, because it's ridiculous and it's a waste of energy to try to fight against it. Because, you know, like for me, I'm 61 years old, and nobody knows how much longer they have on the planet. But if you look at, you know, the average life expectancy in the United States is mid-70s. So if you just look at it from the basis of the mid-70s, you know, I realize that I probably have, you know, less, you know, 20 years or less, something like that. And you have to come to terms with that. You have to accept that. And by doing that, you ground yourself in center. But back to the other type of change with, like, the live scope and the, you know, overdevelopment of our planet here, you don't have to accept that out there. That's not change that is inevitable. And I've always thought, when people say you can't stop progress, you can stop progress. All you have to do is be vocal about it and take action and point out the obvious behind that, and you can stop progress. Because what some people call progress is not progress at all. You know, I'll go back to the, you know, ripping out the valley with the big trees on it. That's not progress when you take something out away from the planet like that and replace it with a smoke shop or something like that. And it sort of goes back, just sort of off the subject a little bit, and I've mentioned this before, it's like, so we're getting off on the park side of it, or on the valley side of it. Why do you think people are so attracted to parks? It's like here in Springfield, Missouri, we've got 4 or 5 parks, and if you've got a nice day out, those parks are full. There's people out there doing everything, sitting out in the grass or walking around. They're just chilling out. People need that because there is an intrinsic healing value and just presence to nature in its pure form. And even though a park is sort of like a civilized version of that, or a sterile version of it, people still gravitate that because it's part of our being as a human. Therefore, that type, when you talk about changing something like that into something like the mall or the smoke shop, that is not change for the positive, and you don't have to accept that. So main thing, guys, is just sort of categorize, or you have to compartmentalize different aspects of change in your life. And part of it, you have to just get grounded and accept the fact that it's inevitable. And other parts of it, if you don't think that that has changed for the better, put up the good fight against it, because it is. There's certain things in this life that are worth fighting for, but you have to pick your battles wise. You can't fight everything out there, but there's certain things, if you can justify it by elements like ethics and moral and integrity and empathy and sustainability for the future, those are the fights that are worth having, and resistance to change. So anyway, guys, a few thoughts this morning. Hope you all are doing well. We'll talk later.